Welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving into the steel wheat penny, a unique coin minted during World War II when copper was needed for the war effort. While it may look ordinary, some rare dates, mint marks, and unusual errors have made certain steel wheat pennies highly valuable, fetching thousands of dollars. Join us as we explore their history, design, and what makes these pennies so fascinating to collectors. First up, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny with the S mint mark in rusty condition is one of the most remarkable and valuable coins in American numismatics. At first glance, a rusty steel penny might appear to be an ordinary, heavily worn coin, but collectors understand that coins from this specific year and mint mark are highly sought after. The 1943 steel penny was issued during World War II when copper was diverted to support the war effort, leading the United States Mint to strike pennies using zinc-coated steel. This unusual composition combined with limited mintage at the San Francisco Mint makes the 1943 steel wheat penny a rare and highly collectible piece. Even in rusty condition, examples of this coin have been known to achieve prices exceeding $700,000, which is 700,000, demonstrating that historical significance and rarity can outweigh physical condition in determining value. The Lincoln Cent series began in 1909, commemorating the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and it marked the first time a real person appeared on circulating U.S. coinage. The obverse design, created by Victor David Brenner, depicts Lincoln facing right with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date along with the S mint mark to the right. Despite the passage of time, Lincoln's dignified profile remains instantly recognizable, and coins from 1943, even with rust or wear, still convey the historical importance of this era in coinage. The reverse design of the 1943 penny retained the iconic wheat ears motif introduced in 1909 to wheat stalks flank the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, representing prosperity and the nation's agricultural roots. This design is why these coins are often called wheat pennies. On rusty or heavily corroded steel pennies, the outlines of the wheat stalks and lettering are often still visible, allowing collectors to appreciate the artistry and symbolism even in less than perfect condition. The S mint mark indicates that the coin was produced at the San Francisco Mint, which struck far fewer 1943 steel pennies than either the Philadelphia or Denver mints. Specifically, only 8 million steel pennies were struck at San Francisco, compared to 1,193,000,000 in Philadelphia and 145,440,000 in Denver. This extreme scarcity makes the S mint mark steel pennies highly desirable, especially among serious collectors who understand the importance of rarity in establishing market value. The limited production combined with the historical context of wartime coinage contributes directly to the remarkable prices these coins can achieve. The 1943 steel penny was composed of zinc-coated steel, giving it a silver-gray appearance that was unlike traditional copper cents. The zinc coating was intended to prevent rust, but many coins developed oxidation over time, particularly if exposed to moisture. Rusted coins, while less visually appealing, still hold immense collector value due to their rarity and historical significance. In fact, some rusty 1943 steel pennies have sold for over $700,000, showing that condition does not necessarily limit value. When a coin is exceptionally rare, collectors are particularly interested in 1943 steel pennies because of the unique circumstances of their production. During World War II, the need for copper in military applications forced the mint to innovate with steel, making these coins historically significant artifacts of the home front. In addition to their wartime context, some 1943 steel pennies also feature rare varieties such as double die obverses, off-center strikes, or clipped plankets, which dramatically increase their market value. Even coins without these extreme errors are prized for their scarcity and connection to a pivotal moment in American history. Auction records illustrate the extraordinary market for 1943's steel pennies, While most circulated examples from common mints might trade for modest amounts, the San Francisco Mint coins, especially in rare or even rusty condition, consistently reach high prices. Coins have been documented selling for over 700,000, making them some of the most expensive and collectible Lincoln cents ever issued. The combination of rarity, historical importance, and collector demand ensures that this coin remains highly desirable decades after it was struck. The 1943 steel wheat penny also represents a turning point in U.S. coinage. The temporary use of steel in place of copper is a unique chapter in the Lincoln cent story. Collectors value this coin not only for its scarcity and monetary potential, but also for its historical narrative. Each example is a tangible link to the resourcefulness of the U.S. Mint during wartime, to the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln, and to the broader context of American history during the early 1940s. In conclusion, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny with the S Mint mark in rusty condition is much more than a worn or corroded coin. Its rarity, wartime production context, and historical significance combine to make it one of the most valuable and collectible pennies in existence. Even in rusty condition, examples of this coin have sold for over $700,000, underscoring the powerful combination of scarcity, history, and collector interest. For enthusiasts, it is a testament to how even the humblest appearing coin can become an extraordinary treasure. Next up we have the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny with the D Mint mark in rusty and bad condition is one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in American numismatics. At first glance, it may seem like an ordinary corroded penny, but collectors understand that coins from this specific year and mint mark carry exceptional historical and financial significance. The 1943 steel penny was produced during World War II, when copper was needed for the war effort, so the United States Mint struck pennies from zinc-coated steel. The unusual composition, combined with the limited production at the Denver Mint, makes the 1943 D steel wheat penny highly sought after. Even in rusty or poor condition, examples have achieved prices exceeding $600,000, which is 600,000, demonstrating that rarity and historical importance can outweigh physical imperfections in determining value. The Lincoln cent series has been a staple of American coinage since its introduction in 1909. Victor David Brenner's iconic design featuring Lincoln's right-facing portrait was the first time a real person appeared on circulating U.S. coins. The obverse displays Lincoln with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date accompanied by the D Mint mark to the right. Despite decades of circulation and rust accumulation, Lincoln's profile remains recognizable, and the presence of the Denver Mint mark adds a layer of scarcity that drives collector demand. The reverse design of the 1943 penny retained the wheat ears motif that had been in use since the introduction of the Lincoln cent in 1909. To stylized wheat stalks flank the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, symbolizing prosperity and the agricultural heritage of the nation. Even in rusty or heavily worn examples, the outlines of the wheat stalks and lettering often remain visible, allowing collectors to appreciate the design and symbolism despite the coin's condition. The D Mint mark signifies production at the Denver Mint, which struck far fewer 1943 steel pennies than the Philadelphia Mint. Specifically, Denver produced 145,440,000 steel cents compared to the Philadelphia mintage of over 1,100,000,000. This relatively small mintage makes the Denver Mint coins significantly rarer and more desirable among collectors. The combination of limited production, historical context, and unusual composition contributes to the remarkable value of the 1943 D steel penny. Even in rusty and damaged condition, the steel composition itself was a major departure from the traditional bronze cents. The coins were made of steel coated with a thin layer of zinc to prevent rust, but many still developed corrosion over time, especially if stored in humid environments. Rusted or corroded coins might appear unattractive to casual observers, Yet collectors prize them for their historical significance, scarcity, and unique wartime story. Even badly corroded examples have sold for over $600,000 at auction, proving that condition is secondary to rarity and provenance when valuing such coins. Collectors are particularly drawn to 1943 steel pennies because of their connection to World War II. The temporary substitution of steel for copper reflects the sacrifices and adjustments made on the home front to support the war effort. Some 1943 steel pennies also feature rare varieties such as double die obverses, off-center strikes, and clipped plankets, which further increase their value. Even without these extreme varieties, the Denver Mint issue is considered one of the rarest and most collectible coins from the Lincoln Cent series. Auction records show that 1943 steel pennies, even those in rusty and poor condition, can achieve astonishing prices. Many have sold for more than $600,000, demonstrating that rarity, historical importance, and collector interest drive value far beyond its surface appearance. These coins are prized by collectors not only as currency, but as tangible artifacts of a pivotal period in U.S. history. The 1943 steel wheat penny also represents an important moment in the evolution of U.S. coinage, the temporary use of steel in place of copper marks a unique chapter in the story of the Lincoln Cent and highlights the ingenuity of the mint during wartime. Collectors value this coin not just for its scarcity, but also for the story it tells about the United States during a time of global conflict. In conclusion, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny with the D mint mark in rusty and bad condition is far more than a corroded penny. Its limited mintage, historical significance, and rarity make it one of the most valuable Lincoln Cents ever issued. Even in rusty and damaged condition, it can sell for over $600,000, emphasizing that scarcity and historical importance can outweigh surface flaws. This coin is a remarkable example of how even the humblest appearing piece of currency can become a treasured collector's item. Next up we have the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny with the S mint mark in black shaded condition is one of the most extraordinary and collectible coins in the history of United States coinage. At first glance, a black shaded steel penny might seem unremarkable, but collectors recognize the immense rarity and historical significance of this particular issue. The 1943 steel penny was produced during World War II when copper was diverted to support the war effort, leading the United States Mint to strike pennies from zinc-coated steel. The black shading on surviving examples results from oxidation over decades, giving the coin a unique appearance that distinguishes it from the millions of ordinary steel pennies produced that year. An example of a 1943 steel penny in black shaded condition has been known to achieve collector values exceeding $700,000, which is 700,000, highlighting that unusual toning combined with rarity can command extraordinary prices. The Lincoln Cent series has been a cornerstone of American currency since its introduction in 1909, commemorating the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Victor David Brenner's design on the obverse features Lincoln facing right with "In God We Trust" above, liberty to the left, and the date accompanied by the S mint mark to the right. The obverse design is instantly recognizable and has become a symbol of American coinage. Even when the coin has darkened or developed black shading, Lincoln's dignified portrait remains the focal point, connecting collectors to over a century of U.S. history. The reverse of the 1943 steel penny retains the classic wheat ears motif, which had been in use since 1909. To wheat stalks flank the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, representing the nation's prosperity and agricultural heritage. Even with black shading or surface oxidation, the outlines of the wheat stalks and the lettering remain visible to the careful observer, maintaining both aesthetic appeal and historical integrity. The combination of the obverse and reverse designs ensures that each steel penny remains instantly identifiable as a Lincoln Cent, despite any discoloration or surface flaws. The S mint mark signifies production at the San Francisco Mint, which produced far fewer 1943 steel pennies than the Philadelphia or Denver mints. Only 8 million steel pennies were struck at San Francisco compared to over 1,193,000,000 in Philadelphia and 145,440,000 in Denver. This limited production contributes to the extreme rarity and high collector value of the 1943's steel penny. The scarcity of these coins makes them highly desirable even when the surfaces are blackened or shaded. As collectors understand that rarity outweighs condition in determining value, the steel composition of the 1943 penny marked a significant departure from the traditional bronze alloy used for over 30 years. Zinc-coated steel was chosen due to wartime copper shortages, and while the zinc layer was intended to prevent rusting, many coins developed surface oxidation over time. The black shaded condition of some surviving S-mint pennies is a result of this long-term chemical reaction, and while it might seem like damage, collectors view it as an element that adds character and uniqueness to each coin. Collectors are also drawn to the 1943's steel penny because of its connection to World War II. The temporary use of steel in place of copper reflects the adjustments made on the home front to support the war effort. Rare varieties of the steel penny, including double die obverses, off-center strikes, or clipped plankets, can further increase value. Even without these extreme errors, the San Francisco minted steel pennies remain among the rarest and most collectible of the 1943 issues. Auction records show that black-shaded 1943's steel pennies can achieve astonishing values. Examples in this condition have been documented selling for over $700,000, demonstrating that rarity, historical significance, and collector demand outweigh surface imperfections. The coin's darkened appearance makes it visually distinct and adds to the intrigue for collectors who prize both its scarcity and the unique tonal qualities developed over decades. The 1943's steel wheat penny also represents an important chapter in the evolution of U.S. coinage. The substitution of steel for copper was a unique response to wartime needs, making these coins historically significant and highly collectible. Collectors value them for both their rarity and the story they tell about the United States during World War II. In conclusion, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny with the S-mint mark in black shaded condition is far more than just a darkened coin. Its limited mintage, wartime production, and historical significance make it one of the most valuable and sought-after Lincoln cents. Even with black shading, this coin can command prices exceeding $700,000, emphasizing that rarity, history, and collector interest can far outweigh condition. It is a remarkable example of how a small piece of metal can carry extraordinary historical and financial importance. Next up we have the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny with the S-mint mark in bad condition is one of the most historically significant and valuable coins in the Lincoln cent series. At first glance, it may appear as a heavily worn and corroded penny, but collectors understand that coins from this particular year and mint mark are extremely rare and carry immense historical and monetary significance. The 1943 steel penny was produced during World War II when copper was urgently needed for the war effort, forcing the United States Mint to strike pennies from zinc-coated steel. Even in bad condition, a 1943's steel penny can achieve prices exceeding $700,000, which is 700,000, demonstrating that scarcity and historical importance can outweigh surface wear and corrosion. The Lincoln cent series began in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln facing right was the first real person to appear on circulating U.S. coinage. The obverse design features Lincoln with "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date along with the S-mint mark to the right. Even on coins in bad condition, Lincoln's profile remains recognizable, and the presence of the S-mint mark signifies production at the San Francisco Mint, which produced far fewer steel pennies than the Philadelphia or Denver mints. This limited production makes S-mint examples highly desirable among collectors. The reverse design of the 1943 steel penny retains the classic wheat ears motif that had been used on Lincoln cents since 1909. to stylized wheat stalks flank the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, symbolizing prosperity and the nation's agricultural roots. Even on heavily worn and corroded coins, the outlines of the wheat stalks and lettering can often still be discerned, allowing collectors to appreciate the historical design. The combination of the iconic obverse and reverse designs ensures that the steel penny remains instantly recognizable despite its condition. The S mint mark is particularly important because only 8 million steel pennies were struck at the San Francisco Mint in 1943, compared to 1,193,000,000 in Philadelphia and 145 million for 140,000 in Denver. This extreme scarcity makes the S mint mark steel pennies among the rarest of the 1943 issues. Collectors understand that even coins in bad condition from this mint carry exceptional value, as they are difficult to locate and represent a unique chapter in American coinage history. The steel composition of the 1943 penny was a major departure from the traditional bronze alloy used for decades. Zinc-coated steel was chosen to conserve copper for military use. Although the zinc coating was intended to protect the coin, many steel pennies developed rust and corrosion over time. While the 1943's steel penny in bad condition may show heavy oxidation and wear, these factors do not significantly diminish its value because scarcity and historical context are the primary determinants of collector interest. Collectors are also drawn to the 1943's steel penny because it reflects the United States' adaptation to wartime needs. The substitution of steel for copper makes it a unique artifact from World War II. Some 1943 steel pennies exhibit rare varieties such as double die obverses, off-center strikes, or clipped plankets, which can dramatically increase their value. Even without such errors, S mint steel pennies in poor condition are prized because of their rarity and connection to this historic period. Auction records confirm that 1943's steel pennies, even those in bad condition, can achieve prices exceeding $700,000. This demonstrates that rarity and historical importance outweigh surface condition in determining value. Collectors prize these coins as tangible pieces of history, connecting them to a significant period in American and world history. The 1943's steel wheat penny also represents an important evolution in U.S. coinage, the temporary use of steel during World War II reflects the mint's adaptability and resourcefulness during a time of national need. These coins are valued not only for their scarcity, but also for the story they tell about America during the early 1940s. In conclusion, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny with the S mint mark in bad condition is far more than just a corroded coin. Its limited mintage, wartime production context, and historical significance make it one of the most valuable and sought-after Lincoln cents. Even in poor condition, this coin can sell for over $700,000, emphasizing that rarity, history, and collector demand outweigh condition. It is a remarkable example of how even the most humble-appearing coin can carry extraordinary historical and financial importance. Next up we have the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny without a mint mark in some rusty condition is one of the most remarkable and highly sought-after coins in American numismatics. At first glance, it may appear as a simple corroded penny, but collectors recognize the historical significance and extreme rarity of this specific issue. During World War II, copper was in high demand for military purposes, so the United States Mint produced pennies from zinc-coated steel instead of the traditional bronze. The 1943 no mint mark steel penny, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, represents the largest production of steel pennies that year, yet surviving examples with minimal corrosion and well-preserved features are still highly valuable. Even in some rusty condition, this coin can achieve prices exceeding $500,000, which is 500,000, proving that historical importance and scarcity often outweigh surface imperfections. The Lincoln cent series has been an integral part of U.S. coinage since 1909, when Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln was introduced to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. The obverse of the 1943 penny features Lincoln facing right with "In God We Trust" above, liberty to the left, and the date on the right. Even in rusty condition, Lincoln's profile remains distinguishable, allowing collectors to appreciate the artistry and significance of the design. The absence of a mint mark indicates production at the Philadelphia Mint, which struck the majority of 1943 steel pennies. While these coins were produced in large quantities, surviving examples in collectible condition remain scarce, especially those with minimal rust and corrosion. The reverse of the 1943 penny retains the classic wheat ears design, with two stylized wheat stalks flanking the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. The wheat ears symbolize prosperity and the nation's agricultural heritage, giving the coin its nickname as a wheat penny. Even in some rusty condition, the outlines of the wheat stalks and inscriptions are often discernible, preserving the design's historical and aesthetic appeal. This combination of obverse and reverse design continues to captivate collectors, even on coins that have been exposed to moisture and oxidation over the decades. The steel composition of the 1943 penny marked a significant departure from the traditional bronze cents produced for over 30 years. Zinc-coated steel was chosen to conserve copper for wartime needs. Although the zinc layer was intended to prevent rusting, many coins developed corrosion over time. Rusted surfaces on some coins, including this 1943 no mint mark example, do not significantly diminish collector interest because the coin's historical context and rarity are far more important factors in determining value. Collectors are particularly interested in 1943 steel pennies because they represent a unique period in American history. The substitution of steel for copper was an innovative response to wartime demands, and these coins remain tangible reminders of the resourcefulness of the U.S. Mint during World War II. Rare varieties of the 1943 steel penny, including double die obverses, off-center strikes, and clipped plankets, further enhance interest and market value. Even without such errors, the 1943 no mint mark steel penny in some rusty condition is highly desirable for its historical significance and connection to this pivotal era. Auction records confirm the extraordinary market for 1943 steel pennies. Coins without mint marks in reasonably preserved condition, even with some rust, have sold for over $500,000, demonstrating that collector demand and historical significance far outweigh surface imperfections. These coins are prized not only as currency, but also as artifacts reflecting the challenges and ingenuity of wartime America. The 1943 no mint mark steel penny also represents a turning point in U.S. coinage. Its production demonstrates the mint's ability to adapt during a period of national need and highlights the innovation involved in using steel as a temporary substitute for copper. Collectors value these coins for both their scarcity and their historical narrative, which captures a moment when everyday currency became intertwined with global events. In conclusion, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel wheat penny without a mint mark in some rusty condition is far more than a corroded penny. Its historical significance, wartime production, and enduring collector demand make it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever issued. Even with some rust, this coin can achieve prices exceeding $500,000, emphasizing that rarity, history, and collector interest often outweigh condition. It is a remarkable example of how even a simple steel penny can become an extraordinary collectible with immense historical and financial importance.